welcome the Honourable Tim Hodgson, Minister for Energy and Natural Resources of Canada. A very warm welcome to you, sir. Honourable Chief Minister of Goa, Dr. Pramod Sawantji, I have to express my appreciation not only for your presence here this morning, but I must say that in the very short time that this facility has been constructed, you personally and members of your government and other colleagues in Goa have been most helpful. And I think this is only the beginning of the journey. As we proceed, I would like to see this facility expanded to host not only events like this, but may become a major conference tourism center hosting for the country. Honourable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, captains from energy companies all over the world, students and entrepreneurs, friends from the media, Namaste, good morning and a very warm welcome. As we gather here on the opening day of India Energy Week 2026, we are witnessing, and it would be an understatement, global turmoil affecting a large number of sectors, but the energy sector is certainly at the crux of them. And yet, it also shows that in the midst of all that turmoil, all stakeholders in the system, whether they are producers, consumers, technology providers, service providers, they can come together and in a reasonable, predictable way chart their ways through the challenges that we are facing. So a warm welcome to all of you. Insofar as India Energy Week 2026 is concerned, I am extremely reassured, grateful that we are hosting over 75,000 energy professionals in this session. This is a 35% growth over the 2024 edition, which took place here in Goa 2 years ago. Over 700 exhibiting companies, 57% growth compared to 2024 edition in Goa, 10 country pavilions and 11 thematic zones, with delegates from over 120 countries. We have more than 550 global speakers and who will engage with more than 110 strategic and technical sessions, reaffirming India Energy Week's role as a trusted global forum for shaping energy conversations and outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this year's theme, energizing growth, securing economies, and enriching lives, is both appropriate and timely. The strategic conference this year is further strengthened by a rich set of side events. I want to particularly mention the platforms such as the India-Arab Energy Dialogue, the Conference on Compressed Biogas, startup challenges like Avinya 3.0, which has 161 applications, Vasudha 3.0, which has 20 global applications with 4 new countries, and dedicated hackathons expand engagement across innovation, collaboration, and knowledge sharing. Together, they ensure that dialogues at IEW span policy, technology, markets, and innovation. When we last met in New Delhi, the global energy system was already facing pressure from geopolitical shifts and structural change. Today, these pressures have, one could say, intensified, and the energy order continues to evolve in complex ways. Nearly 80% of incremental global energy demand comes from emerging and developing economies, with close to 60% originating in developing Asia. As these regions grow and gain wider access to mobility, cooling and digital services, energy demand will rise further, both in scale and complexity. On the other hand, around 730 million people still live without access to electricity, and nearly 2 billion, almost 1/4 of the global population, continue to rely on cooking methods that are harmful to human health and well-being. This highlights that ensuring universal, affordable and clean cooking energy access remains a central development and equity challenge for the global community. Insofar as countries like India are concerned, large populations, rising demand for energy, an international agency has estimated that over the next 2 decades, first they said 15–20% of the increase will come from India, then they said 25–30%, and now the estimate is as much as 35% of the increase in demand of global energy will come from India. We are diversifying our journey on the sustainable path. The figures speak for themselves. But equally, as we have moved to 20% biofuel blending, we are making major strides in green hydrogen, in compressed biogas, CNG, our emphasis on LNG. But having said all that, I must re-emphasize that if investment in existing oil and gas production were to stop today, global oil output would decline by around 8% annually over the next decade, equivalent to losing more than the combined annual production of Brazil and Norway. The history of energy has never been about replacement alone. It has been about addition. New sources have consistently complemented existing ones, allowing systems to expand and adapt. This remains the defining reality of the global energy transition. Insofar as we are concerned, our trilemma continues to be the same: consistent availability, affordability, and sustainability. Nowhere in the last 5 years, at no time, has any part of India ever felt that there has been a lack of availability of energy. And if there were to be, as my young colleague sitting next to me would say, for a democratically elected government, lack of energy has consequences which go very far. Equally, it is with great pride that I say that in India, affordability has been something that is the heart of the Prime Minister's campaign. And the Prime Minister has ensured that we have amongst the lowest energy prices in the world. They cannot be sometimes as low as my distinguished brother sitting on my left, but for a country like us, where energy is more than a question of energy security, it is about survival. Today in India, we have gone from 14 crore LPG cylinder connections in 2014 to 33 crores, 330 million connections, which means 330 million households have been connected. And for those who are beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme, we provide clean cooking gas to a household which costs barely 5 or 6 rupees a day. And simultaneously, for those who are not beneficiaries of the scheme, also it costs only 12 and 13 rupees a day. If I were a trade negotiator, I would say that is de minimis. I mean, that's very much within the affordable band of every household. Equally, we can say that we have been able to move very quickly, as the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned, and is the clip which you saw subsequent to the Prime Minister's inaugural address. We have opened large areas. Out of the 3.5 million square kilometers of our sedimentary basin, 1 million square kilometers, which was no-go area, has been opened up. We have introduced reforms. Last year, a major reform designed to boost energy security, invite investors, was introduced, and India launched the 10th OALP 10th bidding round, special coal bed methane bid round 2025, and the discovered small fields DSF-4 bid round opening significant hydrocarbon potential across our basins. In some of our deep and ultra-deep water exploration acreages awarded during the recent OALP-9, the 2D seismic line acquisition is already completed and the 3D seismic line acquisition is 30% complete. I can assure you that as we move ahead, we will continue to reform, we will continue to ensure, as the Honourable Prime Minister mentioned, that India is where the global energy conversations are at their robust best. You can invest, participate in our activities and scale and make for the world. India has become a leading hub of global capability centres with over 1,700 GCCs already established across the country. In just 5 years, their combined revenue has jumped from 40 billion in fiscal year 19 to 64 billion in fiscal year 24, with growth rate of 9.8% annually. This sector is projected to reach US $105 billion by 2030, supported by nearly 2,400 GCC employing over 2.8 million professionals. Friends, through cooperation, innovation and shared responsibility, India stands ready to work with partners worldwide to build an energy future that is secure, resilient and inclusive. Our reforms, investments and programs reflect a clear commitment to build an energy system that supports growth, strengthens the economy and improves the lives of our citizens. As the global energy landscape continues to evolve, the choices we make today will shape resilience, prosperity and sustainability for decades to come. India Energy Week brings together the ideas, expertise and leadership needed to convert dialogue into direction and direction into delivery. Over the coming days, this platform will foster partnerships and insights that strengthen energy systems across regions and economies. Let us approach this week with a shared focus on cooperation and outcomes. May India Energy Week serve as a catalyst for collective progress and a forum where solutions are shaped for the benefit of the world. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, sir, for your very comprehensive keynote address highlighting the committed energy transition and decarbonisation pathway of India as it works with the nations of the world towards energising growth, enriching the lives of our 1.4 billion people and securing economy. So let me now, ladies and gentlemen, invite one of the most important strategic partners of India, the Honourable Minister of Industry and Advanced Technologies, United Arab Emirates, who's also a very globally respected energy leader, being the Managing Director and the Group CEO of ADNOC. Please join me as I request Excellency Dr. Sultan Ahmed Al Jaber for his keynote address.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, my good friends, it is indeed with great pleasure that I join you here in Goa for this very important and relevant India Energy Week. I'm very happy to see so many of my friends, colleagues, and in fact, very familiar faces here in Goa. Allow me, though, to start by thanking my very good friend, His Excellency Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas, for his kind invitation to join this distinguished gathering, for his warm welcome and his known hospitality. I thank you, sir, for everything you've done for us. And as I look around, The sheer size of this event reflects the simple fact that India increasingly sits at the center of global energy growth. And colleagues, as some of you look at today's energy landscape and see volatility, some see shifting supply dynamics, others see geopolitical shocks, technological disruption. Let me tell you how I view it, because I see it a little differently. Behind the current turbulence is a much bigger picture of transformation at scale. And transformation rewards those who move boldly, not those who wait for calm seas. Because the defining story of energy today is simply growth. Growth that is driven by three powerful megatrends. One, the rise of emerging markets led by Asia and in particular India. Two, the exponential growth of AI and the rapid expansion of digital infrastructure. And three, the transformation of energy systems, not a formula based on single source, but an integration of many. Together, these megatrends are driving the largest expansion of energy demand in human history. Faster, broader, and more complex than anything we have seen before. Between now and 2040, oil demand will remain above 100 million barrels per day. Demand for LNG will climb over 50%. Electricity demand will also grow by 50%. And while everyone wants to talk about the power required for data centers and AI, let me give you two additional letters that will reshape energy markets just as fast. AC. By 2050, the world will have 5.6 billion air conditioners, up from 1.6 billion today. That is 10 new units sold every second for the next 30 years. Demand at this scale and pace requires investment in all forms of energy. The biggest risk is not oversupply. It is underinvestment. And thank you. And you know, the way I see it really is that the way things are really playing out, that I find this to be more of an energy addition than anything else. And one data point in particular makes this clear. And as my very good friend, sitting here right in the front, Javier Plas recently pointed out, last year, 1 in 4 cars sold globally was electric. At the same time, the single largest increase in petroleum demand came from gasoline. That's a very important point one should consider and reflect on. Distinguished delegates, at the heart of all three megatrends sits one nation, and that is India. As the world's third largest energy consumer, it has become a decisive driver of global demand. Over the next 15 years, air travel in India will grow by 150%. India's cities will approach 1 billion people, and its data center capacity will increase tenfold. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi put it so clearly, India does not do progress in increments. It goes for quantum leaps. And progress at this pace and growth at this scale demands a special kind of partnership. Partnership that is strategic, long-term, agile, and flexible. Partnership that is steadfast, dependable, reliable, principled, and consistent. And partnership that is based on trust, and partnership that will endure through thick and thin. That is precisely what defines the UAE-India partnership. Last year, trade between our two countries passed the $100 billion mark, a record high, spanning technology, logistics, infrastructure, health, education, culture, tourism, and of course, energy of all forms, conventional, unconventional, alternatives, and renewables, as well as infrastructure related to energy. And just last week, our President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and Prime Minister Modi agreed to double bilateral trade to $200 billion by 2032. This is the scale of our shared ambition. And when it comes to energy, as India consumes more crude to fuel its refineries, ADNOC is proud to be a trusted, dependable supplier. And as India aims to double natural gas in its energy mix, we have made this nation our #1 market for LNG. As millions of Indians' households turn to cleaner cooking fuels, we are already India's largest supplier of LPG. We will continue to supply feedstocks and chemicals for India's petrochemical and industrial needs. And as India builds out its renewable energy capacity, we are investing alongside you across 11 gigawatts of solar, wind, and storage through our global climate investment vehicle, Altera. Excellencies, as the global energy landscape evolves, we are guided by a fundamental truth. In today's world, standing still is moving backward. That is why we created XRG, leveraging and extending our core strengths in energy expertise, capital, and global partnerships. This is a platform for value creation, a platform for value preservation, and it strengthens our commitment to being a reliable, responsible energy supplier globally. Through XRG, we are expanding our global gas portfolio across Asia, Africa, and the Americas. We are building a world-leading advanced and specialty chemicals platform with the combined strengths and capabilities of Borouge, Nova, and Covestro. And we are investing in energy infrastructure to support digital and industrial growth at scale. At the same time, we are reimagining what a 21st century energy company should look like, with AI as its engine. In today's ADNOC, agentic AI systems monitor every well in our portfolio in real time, predicting equipment failures before they happen, optimizing production barrel by barrel. From the wellhead to the trading floor, we have deployed more than 200 AI tools and 65 robotic applications. And as a result, we have cut unplanned shutdowns in half, boosted performance, driven efficiency, and reinforced resilience. This is not a pilot program. This is, in fact, how we operate today. And as we build our portfolio of AI tools through our homegrown company, AIQ, we are open to collaborating with partners who seek to enhance their own capabilities and ensure their resilience. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, in an era of constant change, reliable partnerships are the real strategic reserves. That is why, decades ago, our leadership in the United Arab Emirates made a strategic choice to design an economy that is open to the world, open trade, open ports, open skies, and the results speak for themselves. In just 3 years, we have achieved 35 comprehensive economic partnership agreements, fully activated. The very first of those was with India. And last year, we attracted over $45 billion in strategic foreign direct investment. And today, more than half of all investment into the Middle East flows through the UAE. These outcomes don't happen by chance. They happen by choice. And they happen by commitment and hard work. We know who we are, and we know where we're going. And our values never change. Our values are our North Star. When we trust is paramount. And when we trust, we never change. We let our records speak. When credibility counts, we deliver. When partners value certainty, we offer consistency. And in the moments that matter, we show up. If you are an investor seeking predictable returns, look to the UAE. If good governance and the rule of law are essential, you will find them in the UAE. And if you want a partner whose conviction will not waver, you can count on the UAE. In an age of walls, our message is simple. Build doors, and the world will walk through them. And I invite you all, I invite all of our partners from India and around the world to walk with us through those doors and into a brighter future together. I thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for your very inspiring and thought-provoking keynote address and opening doors for everyone to be collaborating, to be partnering and shaping a more secure and sustainable energy future. Thank you, Excellency. And thank you also to Excellency Dr. Pramod Sawant. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be moving now into the opening ministerial panel. I once again thank Excellency Dr. Pramod Sawant and Excellency Jabir to be delivering his keynote address. And may I request you to be please taking your seats in the front row. Excellency Puri continues with us here on the stage as we move to the opening ministerial panel. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we now move into the opening ministerial panel on a very relevant topic and a timely topic of charting a course through uncertainty, securing affordable, accessible, and sustainable energy in turbulent world. This panel once again brings together the energy leaders as we chalk out the way forward for our energy markets, for our countries. Just set the stage towards this panel. Joining us in this panel will be the Honourable Minister from Canada and also the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum. In fact, the address which we had of our Honourable Minister, of the Host Chief Minister, and of Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Ahmed Jabir, it actually has set the tone, given a strategic direction to our conversations, which we begin now. So please join me, ladies and gentlemen, as I invite here on the dais Excellency Mr. Tim Hodgson, the Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources, Canada. A nation, ladies and gentlemen, that stands central to global energy supply, innovation, and the responsible development of natural resources. Joining us here on the dais is also the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, Honourable Mr. Jassim Al-Shirawi. And ladies and gentlemen, steering this very important conversation which we are going to be having with the leaders is once again one of the most globally respected voice on energy markets and geopolitics. We have Mr. Javier Blas, the opinion columnist, Bloomberg, as the moderator. So as we begin these conversations, I hand over the stage to our moderator, Mr. Javier Blas.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone to India Energy Week. It's my great honor to be moderating this panel. Mr. Puri, I do congratulate you for this facility. I believe that your country built this conference center in 13 months, and that's certainly impressive. So well done. And thank you also for organizing the weather. I come from London. I think that you, sir, were the Deputy High Commissioner in London about 25 years ago, and you know well what the London weather looks like on a morning in January. So well done also for the weather. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for moderating this session. Thank you for your very kind comments on this new facility. Yes, and I want to thank all those concerned. It was constructed in a short period of time, I think 13 months. ONGC had 250 acres of land, and during a conversation, the idea came up, and well, the rest is history. But I believe this is only the beginning. I'm going to encourage them to, in fact, develop this facility and ensure that the venue becomes a major global conference tourism attraction. Insofar as the weather is concerned, if I may be allowed to say, I think you exaggerate a little about my ability to get things done. Because if I had my ability, I want to thank the Chief Minister who is in charge of that department, the weather department. But I somehow worry about extremes. So what you said about London, we had a storm in the United States where it was minus 17 in parts of New York and thereabouts. I would have preferred it a little cooler in Goa, but it's still, if it's given a choice between the weather here and the weather in London, even though I like London very much, my preference would be Goa just now.
Thank you, Minister. I think that Minister Hodgson of Canada and I will probably happily take for now the weather in Goa.
As I left, we were getting 3 feet of snow in Toronto, so I'm very happy to be in Goa.
Excellent. I'm very lucky I have a fantastic panel, Minister Puri of India, Minister Hodgson of Canada, and Secretary General Yassin al-Sarawi of the International Energy Forum. And Secretary General, let me use your fantastic abilities to be my expert on this panel. If I may perhaps start with you. When you look at the energy landscape today, what do you see and what are you expecting in the next few years?
Thank you, Javier. It's such a pleasure to be here in Goa for the India Energy Week. I'm so pleased to be also an honor to be in this panel with the Honorable Hardeep Singh Puri and the Honorable His Excellency Tim Hodgson of Canada. And I thank the organizers for inviting us for this important forum. Also, India and Canada are very important members of the International Energy Forum, the IEF, and I take this opportunity to thank them for their support and for their positive engagement with the IEF. As far as the, talking about the trends and the themes, I think the previous speakers, particularly His Honorable Prime Minister of India and Honorable Minister Hardeep Singh Puri and His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber have really put nice words to set the scene. But if I would like to add my perspectives, let me first just introduce by talking about the energy trilemma, which is the energy security, energy affordability and equity, and sustainability. Decision makers have to kind of set priorities while taking account of the constraints and the development needs and their aspirations. At the moment, the pillar of energy security is taking more attention and becoming on the top of the agenda. But national needs generally dictate for each country what of these pillars would need to be attended to at different times. But there is no one global model for deciding between these factors. The trends that I would see first, let's talk about the demand, and this was also mentioned in the previous speeches. The world demand for energy is increasing, driven by population growth, urbanization, industrial development, digitalization, AI, and also rising standard of living. Energy is the engine for economic development and progress and social progress as well. So the world would need all forms of energies, and we need to ensure that we have all sources of energies, all sources of technologies and innovative technologies in order to deliver energy to meet the needs of the world, and also do it efficiently and while reducing the impact on the environment and meeting the climate challenges. When we talk about the second theme, we'll talk about the energy mix. The energy systems are evolving rapidly, but oil and gas will remain fundamental and critical to industries, and it is driven by, again, industrial development. It's used in many sectors like transport, industry, even when we talked about air conditioning, as mentioned by Dr. Sultan Jaber, and for heating. But it is also very importantly used as feedstock for petrochemicals, which are used in for products in every everyday life and modern requirements. But also when we produce and consume oil and gas, we have to ensure that we reduce its impact on the environment and also reduce emission and manage decarbonization. The next theme, I think, we'll talk about electrification. Electrification is on the rise, and it's driven by industrial requirements, mobility, EV cars, digitalization, and air conditioning. But when we talk about electrification, the center of gravity is being shifted toward power systems and putting the spotlight on electrical grids. Generating electricity is moving fast, but transmission and distribution, storage systems, and backup systems need more attention because they require more coordination, more cost, and more investment. In order not to avoid having the electrical grid infrastructure becomes a bottleneck, we need to ensure that we invest equally in those areas. Then we talk about climate policy. The climate policy momentum is shaping and will continue to influence the investment decisions, sources of technology and options of technologies, and also the trade patterns. Renewables, solar and wind, are on the rise and they are being scaled up, but they also face issues like permitting, land access, infrastructure, grids, capacity, and most importantly also backup systems to meet and to ensure that we deliver, and meet the demands and the transition requirements. Critical minerals are also becoming strategic dimension, and they are being important for energy security because of concentrated supply chains, competition, and also long lead time. So they're coming up on the forefront of energy security. And the last item is fragmentation and polarization. The energy systems are becoming more complex, and they are shaped by geopolitics, competition, supply chain issues, and the global energy system is already complex. And by adding elements of fragmentation and polarization, it's making it more risky and adding elements of uncertainty, and also adding a lot of cost for delivery of energy system. So change and complexity are constant, but with dialogue, I think we can navigate through these challenges. And the IEF is the global home of dialogue between consumers and producers of energy, and I welcome everybody to be joining the IEF and our dialogue and our journey to navigate through these challenges.
When I was listening the comments of the Secretary General, Minister Hodgson, I was hearing a lot of themes that sound to me as Canada. Oil and gas supply, renewable energy like hydropower, commitment to climate change, critical minerals where your country is a big producer. When you look at that world that he was describing, what do you see the role of Canada?
Thank you for the question. I'll just start by saying, Namaste, thank you, Your Excellency, for inviting me here. it's a long way from Canada to Goa. So why am I here? I'm here because, as we've heard, energy security is really rising to the forefront of how we move forward globally right now. And it's important to both Canada and India, and we'll have a number of conversations, myself and my colleagues in the Indian government. And I think that what we have to understand is the backdrop. And I think many of you heard the Canadian Prime Minister in Davos last week, and he had some tough words, but he spoke truth. He spoke what is actually happening in the world today. And what is happening in the world today is not a gradual economic transition. It is a rupture. It is a rupture in the way the global trading system works. The rules-based order that we all have been building our economies around, one that was based on multilateralism, one that was based on free trade, the hegemons of the world have decided that's not the way the world's going to work anymore. They've decided the world will work in a much more mercantilist way. So what does that mean? I don't need to tell India what it means when people use their economic integration with your country for coercion. I don't need to tell you what it means when hegemons use tariffs as leverage. It is a changing world we live in, and energy is at the center of that. I'm here because, like you, the way to resist that change is to build multilateral relationships and to double down on diversification of supplies. What you just did with the EU signing the mother of all deals was a perfect example of how to say, no, we're not going to live in a world where might makes right. We're not going to live in a world where the strongest put tariffs on everyone else. We're going to live in a world where we believe in free trade, where we believe in trusted relationships. In Canada, we are one of the largest energy producers in the world. As was said, we are the in terms of critical minerals, to power your energy transition, you need access to critical minerals. You've built a $4 billion fund to help bring those resources here so you can be the leader in clean energy you want to be. Canada is a great supplier of those critical minerals, and we'll be talking about that. And a number of our companies are here at this conference to both help you develop your own critical minerals, but where we have ones to share to help you with energy transition, we will be doing that. I think, Your Excellency, you talked about LNG becoming 15% of your energy mix. What I hear when I visit places like London or Germany, I hear very clearly, hey, we made a mistake. We relied on one supplier for natural gas, and that was a very strategic blunder. We can never let that happen again. We need to diversify our supply. Canada used to provide 98% of its energy to one customer. We are committed to diversifying our supply. We see the opportunity to work with India, as was said, to the fastest growing demand for energy in the world will be in India, whether it's LNG, LPG, uranium, where we have the world's largest supplies of uranium, whether it's oil, We're now building pipelines to the West Coast. We have 3 pipelines built. We are looking at building more. That is because we believe the world we want to live in is one where we're going to trade with everyone. We will never use our energy for coercion. We believe middle powers should work together to resist hegemony, and that's why I'm here.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Puri, you bring a fantastic angle to this discussion because you spent nearly 4 decades in the foreign service in India with very distinguished positions in London, Brazil, United Nations. And you have been Minister of Petroleum for nearly 5 years in a very volatile world. So bringing that lens of your previous experience as a diplomat and your new lens as a minister in the energy arena, what do you see today and how do you navigate that new landscape that you have in front?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Yes, I spent 39 years in the Foreign Service as a diplomat. I also spent 4 years after that international think tanking, and now this is my 9th year in the Council of Ministers. But I think one of the more defining lessons for me was as a student of history. You know, I study continuity and change as a discipline. And I genuinely believe that whenever you are faced with a challenge, there is also an opportunity. And I want to steer away from characterizing the global turbulence. There is turbulence. I mean, anyone who tells you there's no turbulence, I think lives in a fairy, Alice in Cuckoo Land kind of situation. There is turbulence. Did we create the turbulence? The answer is no. But we have a set of circumstances which are unfolding. Somebody is dealing the cards, a number of people are dealing the cards, and we have to adapt. Now, for a country like India, I think it's not just a negotiating strategy. I mean, I may honestly tell you that it's a survival. If we don't have energy, energy is the lifeline of an economy. Lifeline of an economy. And you mentioned, my colleague from Canada mentioned our desire to take natural gas from 6% to 15% of our energy mix. Yes, we very much want to do it. We have made efforts, but I'm sorry, I must make this confession that we are still closer to the 6 than to the 15. So there is an opportunity here. And that opportunity presents itself in a number of ways. And I think that's why gatherings like this have a very important role to play. Many of my friends in the media, I used to also write columns, and I also think in my spare time and retirement I'll become a journalist again. Sometimes I'm not referring to you, I'm referring to the other guys. They refuse to see the extent to which we have been able to navigate. If we today have reached a situation where, in spite of all the turbulence, we have no shortage of energy supplies in the world. I think we are very clear. You may have problems with supply chains. You have more and more energy coming onto the global market. On that, there's no doubt. And we have to avoid making the mistakes which romantic academics do. You know, love for the private sector. I love the private sector. I started my life in the private sector. But there's something, state also has to step in to do the responsibility. I'll give you one example to illustrate what I'm saying, if you permit. Sometime in the year 1976 or so, there was a bright economist, I think in Shell, who made a prediction that oil, you know that, you're smiling already, oil will be done by the year 2000. Now, a lot of people who write columns and pink papers, etc., they come, oh, this has happened, that has happened, etc., and they actually made investment decisions based on that prediction. My view as somebody I like to think that I am more grounded, anybody gives you a prescription, test it out. Test it out. A few months ago, not few months ago, little more than a few months ago, if anybody was saying that you would have the privilege of hosting 3 Canadian ministers in a short period of time, I wouldn't have believed him. Because our discourse was on something completely, again, I don't want to get into it. There was something, wherever I've served in New York, in Brasilia, and Geneva, some of my closest friends were the Canadians. We could relate to them. We could talk about it. Today, we put that side behind us, and we are now talking about, I had your trade minister, one of your ministers, Mr. Sandhu, the Premier of British Columbia, and you, and I'm looking forward to bilateral discussion. I want to just say 2 things to take this discussion, and thank you, we have a very eminent moderator who knows the sector. Today, I believe, amidst all the turbulence, amidst all the challenges, there's a great opportunity. Yes. Because we have shed the romantic notions of the world's calm status quo. It isn't. And there are several people who have the capacity to cause those. I don't think I have the capacity because I need to look after my domestic consumption and domestic availability. But we have also learned that we will navigate through this. And we will navigate to make the world, in terms of the energy component of economic growth, much more resilient, predictable, which will come through adaptation. And I think that is something taking place. Today, I believe that the transition which is taking place, and Sultan Jaber, our colleague from UAE, mentioned the technology aspect of that, how newer technologies are coming in. One of you mentioned, I think, in the morning that you will have God knows how many billion new air conditioners coming up, what means one air conditioner being installed every second, and we were discussing some of the predictions you had made when we were in the assembly room. So the world is undergoing fascinating change. The global energy scenario is changing, but I feel very confident when I meet colleagues and participate in events like this that we will not only navigate, we will take it to a very positive outcome.
Minister, one way that you have navigated this landscape has been how you have diversified your sources of energy, and particularly thinking about oil. It's very different to what used to be even 5 years ago. When you look at the future, do you see kind of a comeback to business as usual, or what you used to do 5 years ago? What is your strategy of sourcing oil?
No, first of all, when you talk about our situation, it is characterized by growing demand. I think that has come out in all the presentations. When I was associated with this portfolio 5 years ago nearly, our daily consumption was 5 million barrels a day. Today, it is more than 5.6 million barrels a day. And if you look at the period ahead, by 2030, it will be very much more. Okay, now, we used to import from 27 sources. Today, we are buying cargoes from 41 destinations. There was a time when our total imports of 5 million barrels a day was roughly divided between 800,000 barrels from 3 or 4 suppliers and the rest being taken up. There were some sources which were not even showing up on our statistic. They became big. Now the global's changing, all right? The good news is there is more and more and more energy coming on the global market. So I am a firm believer, and people didn't believe this few years ago, that if there is a question that you are sitting on a lot of energy, should you release it in bits and pieces? A producer's grouping will want to do that. They will say, we will, I'm not saying, there were 102 million barrels. I'm not criticizing anybody. 102 million barrels was the production. It was scaled back by 5 million barrels, etc. Then other sources coming in. How much of that is affecting the price? Now, more and more energy is coming on the market. The United States is a very major producer. I think 13 million barrels a day they are producing. Canada is an increasing this thing, and you've got pipelines, you've got gasification. We have one of our companies, IOCL, has a major investment there. If you set up these new 6 gasification plants, we'd be able to extract bring that gas in here. Brazil, a country I'm familiar with, they used to produce 3 million barrels a day. They're producing another 140,000. Let's look at Guyana. Oh my God. It's huge, and it will be bigger when it comes. So I think more energy is coming on the market, and if we get the rest of the negotiation right, it'll be better. It's not a producers versus consumers. Countries like India are producers and consumers and exporters. I think a stable global energy market is in everyone's interest.
Minister Hodgson, on that front, you are a growing oil producer. You just built, or your country just built a new pipeline to the West Coast. What role do you see of Canada supplying, particularly from that West Coast, into the growing and rapidly growing markets in Asia?
Yes, so we've gone from producing about 1 million barrels a day 15 years ago to 5 million barrels today, about the amount that you use. We have the 4th largest reserves in the world. To put it into perspective, I think the U.S. has about 8 years worth of proven and probable reserves. Canada has 100 years of proven and probable reserves. We will develop that. We are in the process of expanding our pipelines today. India has just started taking its first cargoes in several of its refineries. Several of your refineries are being expanded to use a heavier slate of crude, which actually matches up perfectly with what we're doing. And the interesting thing is that slate is great for petrochemicals and great for producing plastics and EVs. So it's not just about gasoline, it's also about contributing to the energy transition. So we are working hard to diversify on LNG. We've set up our first export terminal. It's doing 12 million tons per annum. Right now, most of that gas is going to Japan, Korea, Malaysia, China, and then Shell is sending it around the world. But we've got projects in place to take that up to 50 million tons per annum over the next 5 or 6 years. And so there's a tremendous opportunity for us to help you meet some of your need. And then LPG is the other opportunity, where you talked about connecting 380 million homes and clean cooking. We're setting up our first terminals. They will be, our first ones are in operation. We've got another one coming on this summer, and we've got more coming after that. So I think we can be a good and reliable supplier to India.
I want to can I just come in
Please.
For a minute? You know, I hear you. That's been exactly our assessment, and I think you're fortifying that. And when you have your bilateral discussions here, I think some of this can be followed up. But I'm also very interested in highlighting another area where cooperation between countries such as ours, including the UAE, including many friends in the Arab world, etc., it's going beyond traditional fossil fuel and derivative engagement. I mean, critical minerals is an area where there's tremendous scope, I think. We are also into the green hydrogen business a lot. I think we've succeeded through 3 tenders to bring down the cost per kilogram way beyond what I expected in my tenure. So green hydrogen is an area we've developed. Small modular reactors, the nuclear ones, but I don't think we're going to get net zero if we don't go into that route, etc. And all these areas, I believe, there's enough scope for cooperation, and that's what makes a platform like this, which is not just energy in the traditional. I mean, you have fossil fuel, you have renewables, and you have the SMRs, you have green hydrogen. In fact, we have got some of these on display also.
We're building the first 4 SMRs right now outside of Toronto. That's creating a supply chain for those types of. They're smaller. You can put them in smaller load centers, and we're very excited to talk to you about that.
Equally, yeah.
And bioenergy is another area that India, I mean, you are a powerhouse in agriculture. And
No, biomass, I mean, we didn't touch on sustainable aviation fuel, but let me just say that we've gone from 1.5% mixing of ethanol in the basic feed, which is available at our pumps. We had a target of 10% by November 22. We did it 5 months in advance. We had a target of 20% biofuel blending till 2030. We did that 6 years in advance. So because of the biomass, you're moving very fast. Sustainable aviation fuel, with or without the European Union mandates coming in over a period of time, we've already started applying our minds there, and I think there's a tremendous scope for both cooperation and investment in sustainable aviation fuels.
Minister, at times from outside, we think about Indian energy mostly as a big consumer, and we forget that you are a big producer. And I was very interested in listening the presentation of Prime Minister, your ambitions to try to do more in finding oil, going offshore. Can you speak a bit of that and why you are doing this?
No, for a very simple reason. If you look at our sedimentary basin, 3.5 million square kilometers, if you look at where we are situated in the Andaman, I mean, you go there, that is Indonesia, you've got Myanmar there. I mean, there is oil. Every time they spud a well, they find something. Now, it's a question. I mean, you know what happened in Guyana? 46 wells,
Yeah.
each costing $1 million or so? Even more?
Yeah.
$100 million?
100 million.
100 million, I mean, I was provoking you. So, look, 46 wells you dig, you don't find. In the 47th, you find it. Now, our Prime Minister's vision and what he has said clearly, that's why we have this mission called Samudram Manthan. I think he indicated $100 billion to be spent there. And his brief to us is, look, this is yours, spend the money, find it. Look, because we will need it for a long time. If you had listened to all those very brilliant economists many years ago, it's phasing out, etc., you know what would have happened? Yeah. You can't undertake a journey without having the ability to undertake it. The investment would have gone down, it would have gone down there in the existing fuel sources. You were not ready with the alternate, so now we have to do both. So we will do E&P, but the fact is, we are very large importers, both of cylinder gas, of LPG, of natural gas, and crude, but we are also very major refiner. I mean, I heard the Prime Minister say that we were going to be the largest refiner in the world. I draw inspiration
No
from
pressure.
It.
No pressure.
I didn't say pressure, I draw inspiration. So, the point is we are at 260 million metric tons per annum. We have already got capacity and already installed and ready for 320, and we are talking about 400, 450, etc. Now, the world is going to change. I mean, a lot of those teapot refineries, smaller ones, will no longer be viable. You'll have major refining centers. And you have countries like Canada, the UAE, I mean, I'm just mentioning because we are dealing with them just now. That scope for cooperation is immense.
I am so lucky that you decided to stay in the public sector and in politics and not going into journalism and writing columns because I will be out of the job. So you just stay here.
I am always believing that you keep your, even if you're in public sector, you should write occasionally, and you should challenge woolly-headed. You provide sense of direction. It's all right. But a lot of my other friends turn around and get up in the morning and write a column. When you say that, this is how it really is, then they look the other way. So, not that we get it right all the time. In fact, this is what democracy is all about. If people like the minister and I make a mistake, the democratic process will throw that back at us and show us the mirror and say, but if we have been able to navigate and reach this point, there's something we must have been doing right.
I appreciate your words, Minister. We have only 3-4 minutes left, but I want to touch upon an area that you both have mentioned, and it's critical minerals. And if I can briefly bring the Secretary General to provide some, because this is an area that, I mean, often there is complaints about the data in oil and gas is lacking, that we don't know what supply is, we disagree about the demand. When one looks at critical minerals, it's just almost like driving at night blindfolded in a road that you have never been, because we barely have any good data. So, Secretary General, what can we do to improve that data?
Thank you. Yeah, we are truly a believer in importance of data, and data leads to better decisions, and they reduce uncertainty. We have been the custodian of the Joint Organization Data Initiative, JODI, and we have last year celebrated 20 years of JODI oil, and since 2014 we have been also providing data on natural gas. We are at the IEF looking to expand JODI, and we are exploring the possibility of adding other matrices like sustainability, and also could be critical minerals, because like you mentioned, it's an area that lacks data. But we are working with our partners. We work now with 7 international bodies like the UN, the Eurasia, Asia Pacific, APEC and Asia Pacific, OLADI in Latin America, and the OPEC and the IEA and the Gas Exporting Countries Forum. And we are looking to expand with other organizations like IRENA and other organizations in order to partner to improve the data availability to the energy arena.
Minister Hodgson, during the period that Canada was the chair of the G7, you made a big push into critical minerals and tried to get the G7 working together. Can you give us an update of those efforts? Where are we, and what are you planning further for critical minerals?
So we're at the last G7, we announced 26 transactions with 11 different countries, working on improving the investability in critical minerals, trying to create greater certainty. That's through offtake agreements, in some cases price floors. That's in providing money for infrastructure. I know many other countries have been invited to start participating in the buyers group. What we're trying to do is create more of a level playing field. We've got one of the hegemons who's interested in controlling supply chains, and they have used that as part of the geopolitics that we're seeing. The critical minerals buying group is designed to create more certainty of supply for OEMs around the world. India has a huge number of OEMs who are going to rely on these critical minerals to make the renewable energy, whether it's wind, whether it's solar, and then things like automobiles, airplanes, ships that all use these critical minerals. What we're trying to do is organize, as you said, Your Excellency, use state power to organize the development of these so we have a more predictable supply of critical minerals. And there'll be more announcements coming at PDAC in March.
My last question, Minister Puri. You think that we are back here in 4 years, 2030, back in Goa, this magnificent auditorium. What do you hope to see by then?
No, I want everybody to keep coming back to Goa, whether for IEW or otherwise. Okay. No, I think 2030 is a very critical juncture, because much of what we do in terms of our planning, which we started many years ago, we started setting 2030 as a point at which we will achieve something. Like, for instance, my green hydrogen targets, when we started that, about 4 or 5 years ago, we said 2030 we want to do this. Everything else 2030. Look, with more and more energy becoming available, with the technology making the transition easier. My colleague from Canada just spoke about critical minerals. Look, I am a cynic at the best of times, but I believe that the critical mineral story has just really started. That in India, we've opened it up to the private sector, we are looking for international cooperation, etc., etc., etc. But let's not overdo it. Somebody was quoting you this morning at a time when, this critical minerals, electric vehicles business was saying, but at that stage, the consumption on gasoline was going up. And they said, you had written the story. Now, my point is, I don't think 2030 will mark a shift as decisive away from one from the other. You'll have more of everything, except that the green transition will have become more pronounced, and that the avenues for cooperation, both in terms of traditional energy, new renewables, and the newer, greener energy, etc. And here for SMRs, and what we are trying to do is that, because at the end of the day, look, the decarbonization or the net zero things haven't changed. In fact, if anything, there's more compelling need for that. And I think you'll have to do SMR to get your net zero. I mean, we spent a lot of political capital on this many years ago, but due to developments elsewhere, accidents and so on, the whole international industry lost enthusiasm. So I'm very hopeful, not only of seeing you in Goa in 2030 or other parts of India, but I'm also very hopeful that that time some of the anxiety which we have now will be past us, and we'll be concentrating on really moving the energy security, energy transition thing in a more robust way.
Well, Minister, if you allow me, we'll repeat what we did this year, a few days in Delhi, and then we'll come to Goa and enjoy again the weather. I could speak for hours with this fantastic panel, but this is all the time that we have. So all what I need to do now is please asking you to join me to thank my panelists for their time. Thank you so much.
Thank you to our excellent moderator and to our honourable ministers, India, Canada, the Secretary General of IF, for this very optimistic, promising, rewarding conversation which we had, shaping a new global energy narrative, being bold and decisive, charting a new course through uncertainty, building these new partnerships. And as Excellency Mr. Puri had mentioned, yes, there is turbulence, but then opportunities unfold. That is where we take these decisions, marching ahead, shaping this new world order. Thank you. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, just requesting you all to remain at your respective seats. We have the honourable ministers and the energy leaders escorted outside for the group photograph. And then we are going to be opening the gates, requesting you to join us for lunch at the designated lunch areas. And also, the exhibition, requested to pay a visit to the exhibition area. The sessions are then going to be post-lunch. We are going to be starting with our sessions, the strategic conference, the technical conference in the various halls. You're requested to kindly look into the app for the program of for today as well as for the coming days. And yes, this is the narrative which has been spelled out from our leaders, the tastes, whether it has been Canada, India, UAE, IF, and all the countries showing so much of trust and confidence in the leadership of India, and moving forward, India playing a very prominent role in shaping this new global energy order. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being a part of these extensive discussions. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your lunch.